So good morning, good afternoon, wherever you call home. My name is Emily Cabbage. I am the staff liaison for NAIFA. I am the Senior Director of Marketing and Communications, and I'll be your host along this 4-week journey of our Future Leaders program. So today, to kick it off, we have John D. Richardson, who is a native of Nashville, Tennessee, and a proud Tennessee alumni volunteer, which is very appropriate for John to be a volunteer because he is a volunteer for life, that's for sure. So just wanted to welcome everyone. Just kind of a couple things. So John will be screen sharing and we'll be talking. You'll get some chances afterwards to ask some questions, get to know each other, and then each session will also send a follow-up and a reminder for the upcoming session. So just looking forward to everybody being here. And John, I will turn it over to you.
Emily, again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. I'm excited to share with you guys my story and my journey as a financial professional. And it's hard to believe I've been doing this 18 years. You know, it's quite a story. So as I go through my presentation, we're going to spend the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. And I'm going to go through my presentation, maybe a few minutes longer than that. But the point of it is to give you guys a taste of what it's like to be a financial professional and to sample different career choices along the way. And I'm going to share this with you through my perspective. Right now, I'm a comprehensive fee-based financial planner in Brentwood, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville. And so I'll get into my story in a bit, but at the end, we'll have a question and answer session. So hold all your questions until the end. Feel free to jot them down. If there's something that kind of grabs your attention, you're like, John, I want to know more about this or that, just make a note, and then we will, at the end, answer all your questions. With that, let me go ahead and jump on in. So real quickly, give me a thumbs up. Can you guys see my screen? Give me a thumbs up. Cool. And Juliana, I know you're here because I can see your name. If you want to turn on your camera so I need feedback. As I tell jokes or as I tell my story, if you guys nod your head and laugh and with me, then it lets me know that you're with me. And for those folks who are watching this on demand after the fact, sorry we missed you in real time, but hopefully you're getting the goods too. So real quick, I'm John Richardson, born and raised here in Nashville, Tennessee. Went to the University of Tennessee where I got a degree in political science and with a minor in Spanish. And I never thought in a million years that I would be a financial guy. Never thought. In fact, what kind of led me into this career, I thought I'd be in Washington, D.C., working in politics or working for a congressman or something like that. But what happened was when I was in college, I had the best summer job a kid could have. I sold books and Bibles door to door, not just one summer or 2 summers, but I did it for 5 summers. And from that experience, I fell in love with talking to strangers, which naturally led me into a career where what I get to do on a daily basis is sit down with people, have a meaningful conversation about what's important to them. I want to, as quickly as possible, go from a head level conversation to a heart level conversation so I can find out what's truly important to them, so I can align their values and their finances with the bigger picture of where they want to be and help them along that journey to get where they want to go. I've been a loyal member of NAIFA since 2005, and in 2018, the folks at NAIFA and my peers selected me as the YAT Leader of the Year. So I encourage you guys to get involved with NAIFA. First, become a member, and then second, get involved with the Young Advisors team, also known as YAT. And perhaps one of these days, you'll also be the YAT Leader of the Year and get a cool red jacket and get to hang out with some pretty amazing people. So that's my offer to you. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump on in to my story. So again, what we're going to cover today are the following items. First, we're going to talk about my career journey. Second, the career options that are available to you. You guys are in college. So right now it's kind of like I'm majoring in finance, or I'm majoring in accounting, or I'm majoring in marketing, or whatever your major is that's good, it's leading in the right direction, or risk management. Whatever that major is, you don't have to necessarily major in something that is connected to your future career as a financial professional. And I'm living proof that, like I said, I never thought I'd be doing this 18 years later. And, business has been good. Life has been good. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. I'm super thankful for my family with NAIFA and all they've meant to me over the years. But again, my hope is to give you guys an idea of what some different options are. Then you can then choose, much like those books, Choose Your Own Adventure. you're making choices along the way. You can then decide this is where I want to be and what I want to do when I grow up. Some of the challenges along the way, we'll talk about that with financial advisors or planners. Why financial planning? And this is where I hang my hat. And this is where I found my home in this industry. So I have a bias towards financial planning, but we'll talk about that and why I feel like that's the future for our industry. The process that I go through with my clients and how I onboard clients, how I take care of them through the process, and on the back end, how do I generate revenue for myself and for my team? And then, like I said, we'll open the door for a Q&A session. So jump into my career journey. Again, first things first, I graduated from UT, moved back to Nashville. So I graduated in December of 2001. So in February of 2002, went to work for a company called John Hancock. Show of hands, how many of you guys have heard of John Hancock? Yep. Okay, good. So John Hancock, big life insurance company. And I did this. I sold long-term care insurance. So I was basically smiling and dialing. I'd call 250 to 300 people per day. My manager would hand me a stack of names and numbers, and I had to call through this system called the Griffin Network, because this is when you couldn't call people, and there's a do not call list and this and that. And if you got caught calling the wrong person, not only you get mad at you, but they could sue you. And so there's a whole process. So, but again, you're fearless. You get on the phone, I'm hammering the phones. And could you imagine making 250 to 300 calls a day? Have you guys ever beat your forehead against a wall repeatedly over and over again? You're wondering, man, this is so much fun. I can do this the rest of my life. That's exactly what it felt like. So I did that for about 9 months. And I was like, I'm done. If this is what a career in this industry is like, I'm out. I don't want anything to do with it. So from that experience, I love to teach, and I have a heart of a teacher. And so I went to work in metro schools as a full-time substitute school teacher. And I did that for about 1.5 years because I wanted to teach, and it was easy. And I didn't have to have a teaching degree to go sub. And the teachers were like, you are fantastic, John. However, I'm going to challenge you. You have too many gifts and abilities. Not that teaching isn't a bad thing. Why don't you put your resume out there and see what happens? So I did. And so I put my resume out, and the next thing you know, I get these calls from this company called the Lampo Group, which is Dave Ramsey's company. Show of hands, how many of you guys ever heard of Dave Ramsey, the national? Okay, cool. He's a nationally syndicated talk radio guy, and he gives advice. And so I interviewed with his company, and I fell in love with the mission. I read his book, Financial Peace. I had participated and graduated from Financial Peace University, his 13-week curriculum, all that good stuff. And I decided, you know what? This is fun. I want to work in finance, and I want to have a heart of a teacher. And so I worked for his team for 2 years. The first year, I'm on the phone again, but this time I'm calling pastors in churches all over the U.S., telling them who Dave is and why they want to host him live via satellite. This is when satellite dishes were just a thing. Nowadays, everybody's streaming everything online, and you can actually go on your phone and watch stuff. But this was, again, back in 2003, 2004. Technology has come a long way in the last 20 years or so. But I did that for a year, and while it was a good outreach, it wasn't as profitable as Dave had hoped. So they closed that department down, and he opened up other departments. I stayed on with the live events team. So in the second year, he would put me on a plane, fly me out to a city 2 months before Dave would be in that city to host a live event. So I was like a forward team in politics. You go out there and you kind of stir things up. So I would go to business luncheons, pastor luncheons, and I'd put on the show, and I would basically tell folks, this is going to be an amazing experience. You should come on out. It's going to be fantastic. And I did that, did it well, got to travel all over the US. But after 2 years, while I made a lot of friends and I enjoyed it, I was working for the man. I was a W-2 employee, and deep down inside, there was an entrepreneur inside that was coming out. I needed to have my own thing, and I needed to have my own experience. So in 2004, in December, I left. And in 2005, started my career as a financial advisor. So 2005, I got my Series 7 in 66, along with my life and health insurance license, which is your typical standard, get in the business, all your designations. Again, for a guy that was majored in political science and minor in Spanish, I could read the books, the Series 7, which is a securities license. I could read the books because it was in English, but it might as well have been in Russian or German or some other foreign language that I had never heard of, because it was so hard. They're talking about options and puts and all kinds of financial topics that was foreign to me. But my thought is this. The reason I share that with you, if I could pass that test, having no background in finances, people that are finance majors should have an easier time, I would think, to pass the test. But I passed it the first time, got into business. And for 10 years, I was working with a company by the name of AXA and helping my clients, who are mostly realtors, save money for retirement, put back money for taxes, and so forth and so on. And I did it. But my business was very transactional in nature. The upside was I not only survived, but I started to thrive and started to get things going. But it was every January 1st, it was like a button, the reset button was hit on my production. So I would build up and I'd have all this income, and I would get to December 31st and I look back at a quality year. I'm like, yes, felt good. But then January 1st rolled around. It was like reset, and it was like starting back at zero. And there wasn't a residual income. There's a little bit off the insurance, but I wasn't in the assets under management space. I wasn't in the fee-based planning or the financial planning space yet. So it was kind of frustrating. So after 10 years, I'm like, there's got to be a better way. Along came a friend. He introduced me to a company by the name of Guardian, and I started up with them in 2015. And for 4 years, I worked with them, and they do non-fee-based planning, where you go through a financial planning process. And at the end, if a person needs an investment solution or insurance product or disability insurance, I like to call it income protection, I can then offer those products or solutions, and then they purchase them through me. And in turn, I get compensated for my time. So this is a win-win-win all the way around. And I did that for 4 years. And I actually learned how to talk about mortgages. I learned how to go deeper than just selling a product. Because in the first 10 years, whatever I had on the shelf, so to speak, is what I had an eye for. And that's what I was selling. And if a person's like, well, what do I do about my credit? Or what do I do about my home mortgage? Or how do I do this or that? If it wasn't tied to a product that I was selling, I would say, great question. I would give them some Dave Ramsey answer, but really, I wasn't really giving advice. I was paid for my knowledge on product sales. The planning, what I did for those next 4 years with Peachtree Planning at Guardian, was more planning, comprehensive in nature. But there was still a piece missing. And that final piece I discovered when I shifted over to where I am today in 2019, which is I'm connected with Mass Mutual. I do comprehensive fee-based financial planning, which means, much like an attorney, a person compensates me for my time. And so when I connect with them, we sit down and we take a look at their story, and we figure out what is the most, sorry, I'm distracting myself with my camera. We figure out where they are today, where they want to be, and then we lay out a game plan to get there. So initially I connect with them, and we'll go over the process in a minute, but basically get to know their heart, get to know their story, figure out why did our paths cross, and how I can add value to them, and they compensate me for my time. So I don't have to worry about, hey, I'm going to invest a lot of time into somebody and I'm not going to get compensated. On the front end, they know my planning fees that start at $3,000, they can go up to $24,000, and that's for the year. The way I think of it is this: people waste more than $250 a month on crazy stuff. What if you actually had a person in your life, like a personal trainer or coach, who's going to do life with you, who's going to hold you accountable and encourage you like crazy and bring into focus the things that are most important to you? Would it be worth $250 a month, $3,000 a year to have that person in your life? I think the answer is yes. I feel like people, they can hop online and then get a ton of information. They can Google whatever they want. But the problem is there's a lot of white noise. People know what they know. It's what they don't know that usually gets them in trouble. And that's why they hire a financial planner to come into their life, to go alongside them. And like I said, on the back end, I am a fee-based planner. I'll talk more about this in a second. And that I do get compensated on the back end for insurance solutions, investment solutions, and so forth. So I get a fee for my time. So I know that regardless if a person works and invests with me or not, I still get compensated. And if they implement, which most of my clients do with me, and they put their investments or insurance solutions with me, I get compensated a second time. So I get compensated both ways. So that has been my career since 2002, since I graduated from UT. And here we are. And man, that's hard to believe. But what's that, 21 years I've been at this? That's what you call old. So career options, big picture. If you've never heard of you didn't have any understanding of the career of the industry, of financial services industry, here's the big picture. So this next section, we're going to kind of cover the macro big picture. You have people that are called insurance agents. This person sells a product. And usually insurance agent is tied to, Well, there's insurance agent, there's financial advisor, and financial planner. So let's go with insurance agent. So a property and casualty insurance agent would be like State Farm, Allstate, USAA. These are people that want to protect your stuff. Along the way, they'll also talk about protecting you as far as you're getting life insurance and income protection. But usually it starts with a conversation with, hey, is your car or your home properly protected? If somebody hits you, do you have an umbrella liability protection in place, which is one of the best buys in the insurance space? It's you can get $1 million of coverage for 15, 20 bucks a month. So that if somebody, it sits on top of your existing car insurance or homeowners insurance, so that if you do accidentally hydroplane, you hit somebody and you hurt them, you don't have to worry about some ambulance chasing attorney showing up at your front door, giving you a hard time. You're covered. You're fully covered. Life insurance agent is a person, usually life and annuities go hand in hand because both of those solutions are connected to an insurance company. A life insurance product in its simplest forms is, we all know that we're on this earth for a finite period of time. We don't know when the day comes, but we're brought into this world, and at some point we're going to exit this world. So there's 2 dates in every person's life. The first date is when a person passes away, which we don't know. The second date that most people don't think about, and my challenge to you is to think about what I'm about to share with you guys personally, is that at some point in everybody's life, you become what's called uninsurable. I've had friends in their mid-20s that get cancer. Companies won't touch them. They are now what's called uninsurable, at least for a period of 10 years. They'll live, they'll make it through the chemo, the radiation treatment, or whatever the situation is. But then they find themselves like, dang, I wish somebody would sit down with me when I'm fresh out of college and I've got an income to actually make sure I have the proper amount of term life insurance in place. I have the proper amount of long-term disability insurance in place. To have somebody make sure that I'm properly insured, because when you're young and healthy, you're invincible. Nothing's going to happen. That's the best time, because it's based on your age. Actuarially speaking, if you're 25 and you don't kick the can till 95, you got 70 years, which means your cost of insurance is next to nothing. Versus somebody who's my age at 45, I'm closer to the end than a person who's 25, which means my cost of insurance is significantly more. So it's better when you're just getting fresh out of college to go ahead and connect with somebody, or if you're in our business, buy the term insurance, max out on the coverage of 20-year or 30-year level term insurance. Go ahead and lock it on in. Same thing with income protection. Annuities also go with life insurance. Annuities, which are sold by insurance agents, provide a person with a promise. Imagine you got an investment and you have a promise that basically it's bubble wrapped or insulated, where you have lifetime income for the rest of your life. That's in its simplest form is what annuities do. Much like Social Security or much like a pension. Imagine you're a person you're entering into retirement, you're in your mid-50s, 55, and you're like, look, I can't go backwards. All I have is all I have, and I don't want to lose it with the market. I'm afraid the stock market may go down. For a portion of those assets, you carve it out and you put it into an annuity solution, which basically puts a safety net underneath it. Sure, the fees are more, but you're paying for those promises, those guarantees associated with it. That money grows, and at some point in the future, when you hit 65 or whenever, you flip a switch, and then you get a guaranteed income stream for the rest of your life, or in some cases for the rest of your life and your spouse's life, and it makes sense. So pensions have gone away. So a lot of advisors or insurance professionals have conversations with our clients about the value of owning a few different types of annuities to create those promise-based incomes. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense, if you guys are tracking with me. Good. Okay, cool. Last one is health insurance agent. This person is typically, when I think of a health insurance, there's 2 different categories. You got folks who are prior to age 65, who with the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, the rules totally changed. I used to sell health insurance, and I used to be in this space. And every time I sold a policy, I made around about $150. Not much, but something. Well, the Affordable Care Act changed the rules, and I went from making $150 down to $15. So in order to actually, so means I got to do 10 times the work to make the same amount of profit I once did before. So I decided to delegate that, and I've got people who I delegate all my health insurance business to, because that's all they do. And through scale and through people renewing on a regular basis, they've found a strong income in doing so. So if you're going to do this, my recommendation is that's your space, own that space and be a specialist. So you got folks up to age 65 that can get health insurance through the marketplace, or basically out in the open market. So the federal government has a website, folks can go in online, you can do that, or you can just kind of go and shop it with different companies. After age 65, people are eligible for Medicare, or if a person's disabled, or there's some situations when a person can get Medicare prior to age 65. Emily, I know I'm getting a little policy wonkish on that. Sorry, I can't help myself. So anyway, when you hit 65 and you got Medicare, guess what you need? You need a Medicare supplement policy. You need to sit down with a professional, figure out what those gaps are that need to be covered. All the plans are the same. They've got letters, and basically the difference in premium is based upon the company. Premium is the amount of money you pay on a monthly basis. But you need to sit down with somebody to make sure that they're taken care of. So if your parents or you know somebody is over 65, they need to sit down with a Medicare specialist to make sure that their health is all buttoned up so that they're taken care of as they go into the future. So all three of these careers that we talked about in the insurance agent space, you can make a great living. The question is, are you passionate about it? For me, I'm not passionate about the health insurance space. But as you can tell, I'm very passionate about the life and annuity insurance space. And car insurance and all that stuff is not what I do, but I have good friends that I refer business to that are NAIFA friends, and they take care of that for my clients, and I get to take care of the other areas. On the financial advisor, which is the second option in there, there's two different types of relationships a financial advisor can have. Again, by definition, a financial advisor provides advice. So you have a broker-dealer, which is with an insurance company, and which is the arrangement that I have. I have an arrangement company with a mutual life insurance company, and I'm regulated by FINRA. So there's things I can and cannot say. Big Brother is always reading my emails or my compliance officer, and that's okay because they care. They don't want me to say something silly and then find myself in court. And then, I throw away a 18-year career because I made a guarantee or promise that was way out of line with reality, right? And then on the other side is RIA, which is a registered investment advisor. These are people that their rules are governed by the SEC, and it seems to be a little bit more on the laxer side compared to the broker-dealer. When I find most people in my industry, they start up in the broker-dealer world because you're going to get the product training, you're going to get the coaching, the mentoring, all that stuff. But at some point, you get to a place in your career where you've got a big book of business, you got a lot of assets under management, and you're like, I really don't want to necessarily work with a company, and I want to kind of go off and do my own thing. That's when people kind of break away and go do an RIA as an investment advisor representative. So just to give you an idea, there's two different worlds. I live in the broker-dealer world. I have friends of mine that are in the RIA space. Both, you can be a NAIFA member in both of those situations, and they're both cool. At the end of the day, you are giving advice to people, and that's what you're in the space to do. The last one is financial planning. By definition, you're planning first, not just giving advice, but you're actually doing planning. So there's two types. There's a fee only and there's a fee based. I'm in the fee based camp, but let's talk about the fee only first. A fee only person, they're not licensed for insurance. They don't have a broker-dealer relationship. They don't receive any commissions. They just straight up, much like an attorney, you pay them for their time, that's it. And they could then, a person pays you for your advice, and then they have to, on their own, take their investments and go to their own company, or, because a lot of people want to manage it by themselves, or whatever the case may be. But you get the idea. This is people who want to only basically charge. And in their mind, this is like, for some people, it's like the highest standard because you are, in all essence, a true fiduciary. I believe you can be a fiduciary in both cases, both with fee-based and fee-only. What a fiduciary means is that I'm going to do what's in my client's best interest, and I'm always going to put my clients ahead of myself. And so sometimes I tell people, look, I would rather you do this solution. It means I'm not going to make as much money, but it's in your long-term best solution. And my clients appreciate that transparency because I believe, core value of mine, that people crave authentic relationships, and they just want somebody that will be authentic and real with them. So as a fiduciary, our job is to do no harm, leave people better than the way they found them, and point them in the right direction. Just like a doctor, you walk into the doctor's office, they ask you a bunch of questions, you pay them for their time, they either write you a prescription or they give you advice, and you then implement it. And if you decide, if a doctor makes money from the prescription drugs or from the procedures and so forth, then they would fall into that fee-based category. If they're just writing prescriptions and there's no other form of revenue, that would be a fee only, just using the medical field as an example. So in my space, I'm in the fee-based world. So they pay me for my time, And then I offer a product solution on the back end. So it's the best of both worlds. So again, there's areas that you can work at, which is our insurance agency, which is, if you hear the term general agent, this is a person who kind of runs the show at an insurance agent. They're the person in charge. And then you have a bunch of folks who are underneath them. Insurance-based broker dealer, this would be what I have with my company, in the sense that yes, they offer life insurance, but they also offer investments. Independent broker dealer is basically an open architecture where they can shop those solutions. We have that too, but also it's a little bit of a different setup. A wirehouse works with investments only, and primarily, I should say. And then a bank is typically, most people in our world don't talk about banks, because you're signing up for I'm going to show up at 8 o'clock and I'm going to leave at 4 o'clock, typical banking hours. I'm going to get paid a salary, but the commission that a person would make in our space as an insurance or investment professional is significantly more than the commission that a person would make at a bank. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but just from, we all, over an 18-year career, you look and you talk to other people and you're like, what would it be like to live and be a financial professional in the banking space? If you like steady paycheck and you like somebody telling you what to do, and you kind of like that W-2 mindset, then a bank would be right for you. If you're like me and you're like, I don't want to be told what to do, I kind of like the freedom of working when I want to work and the joy of making a difference, then I would not recommend a banking world. I would recommend the insurance-based broker dealer or one of the others. So the challenges that a lot of advisors have, most advisors cannot clearly articulate their value proposition. Why should a person work with you? Another is that most advisors, or challenges folks have, is they don't have a system to consistently fill the top funnel of their new prospects. They don't have a true client service model, and they don't have residual income. So we're going to talk through these 4 challenges and the solution that go along with it. So when you are a planner, and this is why I like financial planning, you're helping people plan for their future. You're not just selling a product. People, there's, like I mentioned earlier, you can Google anything. Information is at your fingertips. The question is, how do I separate all that noise from reality in my situation? And so that's where a financial advisor or planner comes in to separate that. And again, keep in mind, financial advisor, define the need, sell the product, move on. Financial planner starts with a plan. Once you have a plan in place, then the plan dictates what you need to do. Kind of like if a person wants to purchase a house, and they go through and they create imagine a person who actually draws up the blueprints, and they build the house, and they know exactly what they want in their rooms and so forth. This is what we do. We're architects first. We design a blueprint for a person's life to figure out where they are today, where they want to go, and then room by room, help them put the appropriate furniture in that room, making sure that it has all the creature comforts that they want. So at the end of a process, they look back and they're like, man, this is exactly what I want. So from a value proposition, being able to clearly articulate what you do. Again, I help people align their values with their financial decisions and financial truth so that they can live their best life. That's my unique value proposition. I work with business owners. I work with people who are pre-retirees. I work with people that are high achieving professionals that are like, I don't have time, John, to sit down and think through all these things. This is why you're in my life. Which actually brings me to our next topic, which is prospecting. How do you fill the hopper at the top with quality prospects? Well, to quote a friend of mine and a NAIFA legend, Marcus Henderson, if you create a business that is very attractable, when you go fishing, you don't have to fish for put lines in the water. The fish will see your boat and they'll say, man, I want to jump in the boat with you because I want to ride with you. And so that's the kind of business you want to create, where you're creating you want your reputation to walk through the door before you do. That's the kind of business you want. I like to call it that wow experience. When I meet with clients, there is a baseline expectation. And I know that my job, because again, they're paying me a fee. They're paying me $3,000 or more. I want to come in at this line or better over that period of that year, because I know the bigger the gap between their experience and what they thought they were going to get, I call that a wow. And the bigger the wow, the more likely they are to tell their friends. And right now I've found a lot of people in the healthcare profession who are perfusionists. You know what a perfusionist does? Emily, do you know what a perfusionist does? Most people don't. There's 3 people, when you're having a bad day and you have a heart attack and you're like, oh, and they take you to the hospital, they're going to crack you open. There's 3 people in that room, not counting the nurses, and because there's a bunch of them, but there's 3 people. You got the heart surgeon, who basically cuts open. They take a heart that works and they replace it with, or whatever, with a bad heart. You got the anesthesiologist, which is the person that keeps you asleep because you don't want to wake up in the middle of a surgery and like your guts are everywhere. That's no bueno. And the third person is a perfusionist. And these are, I've worked with a lot of these lately in the last 2 years, and it's been exciting. But these are the people that basically run the heart and lung machine. So they basically kill you by clamping off all your arteries so that your heart stops. And that this machine artificially keeps you alive. The heart stops, they ice pack it and all that kind of stuff. They bring in the new heart, the surgeon kind of stitches it together, and then they warm it up and they reverse the flow and the blood goes back into the heart. And the heart knows what to do. It just goes, oh, that's it. And it starts beating again, which is the craziest thing. Sometimes they got to shock it. So I have found with working with people and creating a wow experience that I've been referred to a lot of the same people in that space, which has been really exciting to find that niche, because I create that wow experience. The opposite of a wow experience is a whoa. And you know it's a whoa because you ever had a friend who just won't make eye contact with you, or they won't return your phone calls, or they're just kind of like, oh, hey, John, how you doing? That's out there because there's something wrong. If you're not meeting their expectations of friendship or business, obviously those are the kind of people that will find somebody else who's a better fit. And be honest, there are times where I have to have conversations with my clients and say, we were a right fit and I've been adding value, but are we still a right fit? If the answer is yes, let's go. If the answer is no, then we need to have a mature adult conversation. Perhaps maybe there's somebody who's a better fit, and that's okay. Life's short. You work with people that you want to work with and they want to work with you. And so at the end of the day, knowing how to prospect, which is creating a business, creating a system that attracts the right kind of people, and know these are the right kind of people I want to work with. I would rather, even if a person's got a lot of money, say, no, thanks, we're not a right fit. And I'll know that after our first meeting, which is the initial meeting. I have one this afternoon with a couple. I'm going to sit down with them and I'm like, just leave all your finances at home. It's like a first date. I just want to get to know your story. And I'm going to ask tons of questions about them and about how they value money, what they want their money to do for them, what's important to them about life. And at the end of our time, they'll know exactly what the next step is. And I'll know what the next step is because it will be organic. We'll just know if we're a right fit or not. There is a client service model. Again, financial planning is a process. If you have a standard operating procedure, a way to do business, things just naturally kind of happen. And it helps the clients accomplish more because you're literally flipping over every aspect of a person's life. It is truly comprehensive, not just focusing on those things that I can sell a product to and then moving on. And it creates a relationship with renewals because people, how I get compensated, which I'll talk about here next, is you want to create residual income. So what's cool about financial planning, I get paid two ways. One, when people place their investments with me, let's say I have $20 million of assets under management. Well, if I charge, which I typically do, 1%, that means on an annual basis, I'm making $200,000 of revenue. And that's just not for the first year. That's a reoccurring revenue. Remember my story about come December 31st? I'm dreading that because January 1st, I hit the reset button. Not so with AUM. With AUM, every January, it keeps increasing incrementally over time. So much like the tortoise and the hare, I could sell a lot of products and make money today and be the hare. Or I could be the tortoise and slowly build an incremental business that will take care of me, not only today, but in the future as well. So that's how you build an AUM business, is by gathering assets, taking care of those people, doing financial reviews, make sure they understand how their investments are working. The second part is through financial planning. Remember, I charge at a minimum $3,000 a year for planning. And I put together, they get an amazing book. They've got me coaching them. We connect on a quarterly basis, or they have my cell phone so they can always schedule, and they always have access to my calendar through Calendly. Send the link, they can always add it to the calendar. So I'm fully accessible. And my job is to make sure to hold them accountable to what they say is important to them. And at the end of a year, we look back at where they started to where they ended. And it's amazing how excited people get when they can see how much progress they've made in a short period of time. So again, back to residual income. If I have 100 clients a year and I add new clients, let some clients go, but on average, 100 clients that I'm servicing on an annual basis, and they're each paying me $3,000 a year, that's $300,000 in revenue. So when you add that together, that's called you're having, life is good and you're enjoying life because you're adding value to people, but you're also, your significant other in your life can say, hey, we can take a trip and we can do fun things together because you got cash. Or if you're like Emily, you got a rock star boat, right, Emily? I'm not a boat person, by the way. You don't want to catch me in the water. It's pretty funny. So the process, what you see on the screen is a representation of the financial planning process. This is the compliance approved screenshot from my company. So you see that you engage. That first step is that engagement meeting. I like to call it an initial meeting, get to know them. I then send them a checklist, which is step 2. And I call it a 48-hour challenge where they got 48 hours to get all this information into me. Most people think that's crazy. There's no way I can get all that information in, but they do, because I create a sense of urgency and expectations. I talk about the 5 steps of the grieving process, which is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. You're going to feel all these steps, and that's normal. So just go ahead and just go from denial to acceptance as quickly as you possibly can. Because if you think about it, when I was in high school, and you're probably the same, the teacher gave you an assignment that was due at the end of the month. Most people would wait to the week of before it was due to do the project, right? And then if you're like me, you would actually wait till like Wednesday or Thursday. Well, the project is due on Friday, and you're like, and you get it done. Human nature is to put off. And so I'm like, let's just cut out the first 28 days of the month. Instead of giving this checklist saying, get it back to me a month, we're just going to do it in the next 2 days. And you know what? People do it because there's a sense of urgency. And when they bring their best, they're excited and the process goes more smoothly. And so that's where you collect the data. And that has, like I said, says days 7 to 14, but usually it's just in a couple of days and I've got everything I need. I then put it into a program called eMoney. It's a financial planning software that's available to pretty much all financial advisors. It's fantastic. It has got charts and graphs and tells you where you will live financially, where you need to do, what steps you need to do to get there. And then we analyze that data. I sit down and I create a plan. And then we go through that plan section by section. And kind of like a plane flying over a city, we're going to go at a pretty steady pace. But occasionally a person will say, hey, what's that down there? And then we're going to zoom in. And then we're going to look at that section of their plan in more detail, as detailed as they want to go. And then when they get it, we then go back up and continue to fly, because we're basically going through a very comprehensive plan, which can take some time. But again, I want to make sure that they know I'm fully invested in them and I understand their situation, and we can find out what the gaps are, where we can help. The implementation, which is step 5, there's going to be lots of products and solutions that we need to offer. And so we'll then say, hey, let's start the underwriting process. Let's get you that term life insurance, that long-term disability, also has income protection. Let's go ahead and open up that brokerage account so we can start saving cash, because money market accounts right now are paying 4.6 to 5%. That's a better place to host your cash than at the local bank, which, by the way, we can use that as a hub to then fund all the other things in your life. They're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I didn't know you could do this. And this, again, part of that implementation. And then the last part is 6 is that review, which you notice there's 4 of them. There's Q1 through Q4. We're connecting at least on a quarterly basis. Some clients will connect monthly, depends on their needs, to make sure that we're checking in and I'm building momentum. So at the end of the year, we look at where they started off and where they ended, and they're just blown away as to how much value and how much impact. So the fee, it's never an issue, because I've put more than $3,000 or whatever the fee is back into their life over a period of a year. So again, when we do reviews, we talk about 5 key areas, which are their health. I'm always going to ask them, how's your health doing? Because if their health changes, that's an issue, especially with COVID. That was an issue a couple of years ago. And so health is not only physical, but mental, emotional, spiritual. How are you doing? And people get real with you. And that's great. Protection, which is all your insurances. Assets, which is money, anything that puts money in your pocket, which are investments or real estate or businesses. Liabilities, how you doing on your debt? And then your cash flow, from an A to an F, give yourself a letter grade. A is, I got plenty of money, I don't know what to do with it. John, help me. F, I'm so mad right now. I am upside down and I'm 3 months late on my mortgage. Every day I kick my dog. I'm literally stressed out. Help, Mayday. And I want somebody to be real with me and say, hey, look, I'm an F. I'm like, I get it. Let's restructure some things. Let's get you back on track. And so we always talk about those 5 key areas when doing reviews. The implementation, when we're in that section, which is step 5, we're checking in every 2 weeks until those products get placed, because people get busy and they forget, oh, that's right, I got to get that done. And then when I do quarterly reviews with them, I'm updating their eMoney website, which is personalized to them. We're reviewing things throughout the year because I want to show them how much progress they've made throughout the year. We're making sure that, much like these websites that aggregate, everything that's their personal banking is linked to their website, so they can in real time see exactly where they stand, which is kind of fun because it updates and aggregates on a daily basis. We're going to discuss the overall situation, making sure we're on track. And then at the end of every meeting, determine what are the next best steps. What are 2 things that you're committed to do, Mr. or Mrs. Client? And I'm going to commit to 2 things as well. And between now and the next time to get together, You're going to do your homework and I'm going to do my homework. And together, we're going to help you guys get there. So to wrap things up, my previous employer, Dave Ramsey, has a quote: "We live in a culture full of hares, but the tortoise always wins." And if you guys remember Aesop's fable, it's that slow and steady wins the race. So you could try to sell a bunch of stuff, be a flash in the pan, or build a business, do it the right way. And when you wake up 18 years later, you're like, man, life's fun. I get to hang out with people like Emily. I get to spend quality time with college students. I get to wear bow ties because you built a consistent business that's adding value and also financially rewarding for you and your family. With that, I am done. Emily, let's open up for Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. Always insightful and things like that. So I just want to give everybody a moment to kind of think questions through. This is a great opportunity to really kind of dive into some of the stuff that John said, maybe something that's not clear, you want additional information on. So I'll pause and you can either unmute yourself or use the chat feature.
Yeah, I had a question. So you mentioned that wow factor.
Yep.
What do you do to create that wow factor? And then to go along with that, how do you know somebody is the right fit for you?
Those are great questions. All right. So the wow factor, everybody's got a story. And it's Grayson, right? Grayson,
Yes,
where are you from?
correct.
Where are you from? Where do you go to school?
I'm from Philadelphia. I go to Dickinson College.
Nice. So everybody's got a story. And if I do my job well in that initial meeting, I'm asking a ton of questions and I'm getting to know their story because I want to put myself, knowing what I know, I want to put myself on the other side, go and put myself in their shoes. So I know knowing what I know, if I were them, what would I want? And so we're basically getting to know each other. And through that process, I'm finding out what they're passionate about. Great example. I am a big fan of puppy dogs. I've got a dog named Piper. She is a little over 2 years old, but I was scared to death of dogs. But for those folks who know me, they've watched me grow and mature as now I've got this little baby girl in my life. My wife and I don't have kiddos of our own, but we know that Piper is like our daughter, if that makes sense. So if a person were creating a wow experience for me, they would hear me talk about Piper all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if they celebrated her birthday, which is on June 29th, with a little card, or we had do something that was kind of special it's not necessarily gifted towards me, but it's gifted towards somebody who's important to me. Another example, if a person knew me well, they would know that I'm very involved in the Boy Scouts. And they would say, "Hey, John, I understand you're active in the Scouts. I was at a thrift store the other day and I ran across this vintage antique Scout neckerchief or this book. And I thought of you. I just wanted to give you this book and tell you, hey, I appreciate you." You know how much that cost? Maybe it was like $1, but a handwritten note with a antique, Boy Scout handbook is, again, I'm well underneath the compliance rules, which you can only give up to $100 per year per client. But I'm doing something that's saying I listened to you when we connected. It's a heart level gift, not just a order out of a catalog. Here's something that would, because I remember as a kid, I'm not going to pick on my dad because I love my dad, but I know he'd go on these family trips and I would come home and every time he'd come back, I always get a t-shirt. And the t-shirt was usually one that he got at the airport as he's going home. He's like, "Oh, shoot, I forgot to get my two sons a gift." And so at the last minute, he'd buy a t-shirt and he's like, "Here you go, son." And so I don't want to do gifts like that. I want them to be meaningful and heartfelt. So you create a wow experience through creating a process that delivers on the promises you made by catching people and giving gifts when they're unexpected. My wife, I don't give gifts like flowers on her birthday or on Valentine's Day. I give flowers on a Thursday when she least expects it. And why? Because those are the best kind of flowers, is when people are like, what's this for? Because I love you and I'm thankful for you. And I get the opportunity to do life with you. And it's kind of like, wow, that carries a lot more weight versus Valentine's Day when the prices are significantly higher and everybody's trying to compete. So Grayson, does that make sense? You basically, you listen with your ears, but you're listening with your heart to figure out where is that person, what's their story, and how do I add value to that person that may or may not be connected financially. It's just that big picture. So they're excited to see me. And when they pick up the phone call, or I'm going to this comedy event. Do you want to come with me? I got an extra pair of tickets. again, it's under compliance. We're good. And they're like, yeah, I'll go with you. And like, then we go, and we have a big time. They get to see me in personal. They get to see me in a comfy casual attire without the bow tie. And they're like, wow, John, it's a different, but you get the idea. That's what I do with my clients, so that when it's time to renew, they're just like, well, of course, John's my guy. He knows me. He knows my numbers, but he knows me as a person. And he's not, quote unquote, just trying to sell me something. He's got a heart of a teacher. He's a true advisor. He's giving back. He's a coach in my life. So that's how I create that wow experience. It is a personalized situation for every client. And I'm just paying attention. And I feel like when I feel moved to do something, as long as I'm within the compliance rules, I impulse and I do it. Buying a book, whatever. I just kind of, you find somebody who's all into an owls, and you find a little owl trinket, drop them in the mail, and they get this thing. They're like, oh my gosh, I can add this to my collection. I don't care about owls. Most of these ladies, they've got like their kitchen is full of critters, and they're like, who cares? But people collect stuff, to them, it's important. If it's important to them, it's important to me. So that's the wow factor. How do I find the right fit? As you can tell from just talking to you, you get a pretty good sense about how I communicate. Is that a true statement, Grayson?
Yes, I would agree. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm not normal. And I know that. And Emily knows that about me. And I want people that are picking up what I'm putting down. When I talk to them like this, they're like, yes, you're the kind of person I want to do life with. And you're the person, I obviously, you know what you're talking about. You're a nerd, you're smart, but I like you as a person, and I trust your judgment, and you follow up and follow through, and you said you're going to do this and you do it. Okay, let's roll. Let's work together. So that to me is a right fit for me on my end. From there, and they're checking me out, make sure we can do the laugh at my jokes, so we're going to get along. For me, it's coachability. If I tell a person this is what I recommend, and they give me a ton of pushback on the front end of that first meeting, I'm going to say, hey, how coachable are you? 10-point scale. And I want them to be honest with me. And if they say, oh, I'm a 10, I'm super coachable. Great. Later on, when I'm giving them advice about how to implement the plan, they're like, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wait, time out. You said you were coachable. And is this truly a priority to you, or are you just interested? And they're like, you're right. No one's ever held me accountable. And I'm like, that's me. I'm going to hold you accountable because I care. That's what a friend would do. And so that's how you add value, create that wow experience, but you also find a person who's a right fit. It's like dancing with somebody. If you've ever been swing dancing or ballroom dancing, you got a person that's leading the process, and then you got a person who's following. And sometimes people just don't know how to follow because they're that person off in the corner, kind of dancing, doing their own thing. And you're like, oh, okay, got it. You're a do-it-yourselfer. I'm not a fit for you because I can't dance with a person who's kind of doing it themselves. So if they're dancing with me, oh man, all eyes are on us because we're gonna kill it. We're gonna own the dance floor working together. So does that make sense?
That does. Yes. Thank you.
And by the way, that was my Ted Lasso dance, Jason Sudeikis. So you can't see what's going on below. I'm wearing dress pants. I'm doing the same thing. So, okay, Yuri, is that your name? All right, you're up. What you
So I guess I was wondering more on the client acquisition side.
Yeah.
Do you only focus on, local clients, or, would you take someone, because I know you're all about, building like the relationships and all that. So let's say, would you take someone out of state and, do like a Zoom meeting with them, or are you purely only, local clients?
Dude, that's a great question. All right. You want a secret? 95% of my meetings are via Zoom. Even people that live in the great state of Tennessee, which, by the way, I think is the greatest state of all states, but I have a bias. But even the people because they're like, look, I don't have time to drive in to meet with you for an hour and then drive back. They're all about efficiency. And because I emote very well via Zoom, as you guys can tell, you can tell I'm a real person. I'm not a robot. I'm not in Mexico. I'm actually, I'm not going to take your money and run. I'm legit, if that makes sense. And once people get that heart connection, and they know that I'm not afraid to ask them tough questions and really connect, then they make that. So 95% of my client meetings are via Zoom. If you looked at my calendar today, you would see it's like back-to-back Zoom meetings. I do have to leave my home office, which is where I am now, to go to my Brentwood office, which is about a 15-minute drive, for an in-person meeting this afternoon, because the couple I talked about, they live locally. They wanted to meet me. They wanted to see if the bow tie is real. And so, but most of the time, it's via, and I've got clients, Michigan, Texas, Florida, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, of course. I mean, all over the map, because I just get introduced one of my favorite clients, they're up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. They can't help themselves. Literally, they tell everybody about me, which is it's a good problem, you know, and then you're meeting with them and you're trying to see if it's a right fit. And it's kind of hard when it's kind of like you get set up on a blind date with somebody and you're like, maybe now's not the right time. We're not a right fit. Hey, here's a Dave Ramsey book. Let's circle back in 6 months, because they're not ready for planning. They're interested, but they're not ready. Or folks who are like, hey, let's go. So Yuri, to answer your question, most of my clients are via Zoom, and because of COVID, that changed it. And I don't want to go back. You know, I dress up like this. I'm at my home office, which is weird, but you get the idea. When I can just throw on my dress shoes, drive 15, 20 minutes. I'm at the office, doing my thing, and it works. So does that help give you an idea?
Yeah, thank you for that.
Sure. My encouragement for you guys in your career, dress up to whoever your clients are, dress to a comfort level. People don't wear bow ties. This is weird. People don't wear neckties. That's weird. People pop the collar. I'm in a college fraternity. And when I went to my fraternity's big event last year, they had like this homecoming kind of deal. And I'm in the room and I'm working the room. Guess who's the only guy in the room wearing a bow tie? And there's a few guys wearing neckties, but all the guys at UT pop collar. And they're just like, what's up? Because that's the norm. Be you, whatever. I mean, you want to be interested in other people, but whatever your authentic self is, be yourself. For me, that's wearing bow ties. If I didn't wear a bow tie, Emily would start to wonder, like, John, are you okay? You know, is things all right? And so
If I saw you in a regular tie, I would probably say, I don't,
what's up?
do you own any?
I do. I've got a drawer full of them. I haven't worn them like in 4 years or 5 years. Actually, the intro slide has me wearing a regular navy or blue tie. And, you know, I look dapper in that too. But again, I think the bow ties are where it's at. You know, maybe one of these days I may switch back, just like what's his name, Tucker Carlson did. You know, he went from the bow tie to the regular tie. He's a political guy too. So anyway, did I get your question, Yuri? All right, Juliana, you've hung in here this whole time. Love to get a question from you, and then we're gonna land the plane because I'm sure there's other folks who want to jump in and ask questions. So do you have any questions for me? Even if not, you can just say, hey, nice bow tie, enjoy the presentation, whatever.
How do you manage, well, like you said on the challenges, you have like 100 clients. Like, how do you manage, like, how do you have like so much free time? Like,
so the question is, I'll repeat back to you, is you've got 100 clients. How do you run a business and also do other stuff in your life? Is that right?
yeah, like you like do you volunteer, right? So how do you have so much free time?
Yeah. So I can assure you, I am not independently wealthy. So let's just get that off the table. I am not a trust fund kid. I don't have bazillions of dollars. You know, my mom and dad worked for the Army National Guard, retired military. Mom was a preschool teacher. So it's not like I got money, but that was, you know, handed down to me. But I am very systematic. For example, if you ask me, John, what is in your front left pocket right now? I'm going to tell you there's 2 things in my front left pocket. One, and this is real time. You ready for this? Is my wallet. And the second is a toothbrush. And I just ran out of toothpaste. Otherwise, I'd have toothpaste in my front left pocket. I have a system for everything in my life. My calendar is color coded. I know it's a little OCD, but purple represents, when I see purple on my calendar, it means NAIFA. Green is client facing meetings. Light blue is for prep meetings where I'm prepping for case or prepping for client meeting or prepping for whatever. If it's Boy Scout related, it's a khaki color because khaki and green, we're Scouts. If it's fraternity related, it is pink. If it is politics related, because I'm involved in politics in Tennessee, it's orange because, I don't know, I just like the color orange. You get the idea. Everything in my life, so I can look at my calendar and I can just go boop, 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 and I can see I'm heavy on, right now I got NAIFA stuff going on. I got a NAIFA meeting starting in 5 minutes after this, you know, because I'm part of a cohort team. And then I got a client meeting, which is, so I got purple, green. And then I got 30 minutes to get over to the office where I have another purple meeting. And then I've got another green. So I've memorized the colors for my day. And then after that, tonight, I have got red. Red is free time where I'm spending time with my wife, Kelly, and our dog, Piper. Right now, we're working our way through the TV show Suits. If you guys haven't watched it, you need to watch it. So good. I sit on the right. My wife sits on the left. Piper, our puppy dog, she curls up and she's in the middle. And so I keep a balanced life because I feel called to serve others and to lead leaders. And so the way I manage my time is I color code it and I time block it and I put everything in air and day tight compartments. So when that day is done, that day is done. When that activity is done, like I'm maxing it out, but when we're done, I'll hit up Ellen with a quick little text. Hey, this was great. I'll see you in DC, our next NAIFA conference. But otherwise it's boom, we move on to the next item. So that's how I manage running a business. And also with client meetings, you get in, get the job done. And clients love the fact, especially with Zoom, you start on time, you end on time, life is good. So did I answer your questions, Juliana?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. And Juliana, where are you from?
I'm from Houston, Texas.
And where do you go to school?
The University of Houston downtown.
Nice. And Yuri, where do you hail from and where do you go to school?
Tampa, Florida, and then University of Florida.
Nice. Well, like the Florida Gators?
Yeah, like we played you guys 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that. Yuri, I thought you were my guy. I thought we were cool. But I will tell you this, I'm a huge fan of Tim Tebow. And that's all I'm gonna say about the University of Florida. And Kevin Mayu. Kevin Mayu is our NAIFA national president. I'm a big fan of Kevin Mayu, huge fan. But outside of that, yeah, no love. You know, we love roasting Gator, at our home games, like good stuff. So anyway, this has been truly an honor to serve you guys for this hour. My challenge to you, go ahead and write this down, LinkedIn, and then go to and type in John D. Richardson. And you'll see my face will pop up on the screen. I think I'm wearing a regular blue tie in my mugshot on LinkedIn. Send me a friend request. I'll be happy to accept it. And then your next step would be, hey, John, I want to meet some of these people. I would be more than happy to introduce you to people in different careers. I've done this with people. We actually got a lady hired from this program who basically, she made a short list, a top 10 list. I introduced her to a couple of those people. One said, I'll take a chance on you. She is now gainfully employed, making good money in Nashville because she, through the NAIFA program, through this Future Leaders program, she got her career, her job jump started. So same thing for you guys. Take me up on it. Yeah, I'm here to help. I want to serve y'all. And so it's not, sometimes in life, it's not what you know, but who you know. So by joining NAIFA, it's like joining a big fraternity of folks that care about you and your success. And they want to help you take get to the path you want to be with the most efficient manner possible. So with that, Emily, I think we're up on our time.
Yep, just about. And Grayson, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you just joined NAIFA too. Is that correct? Did you join as a NAIFA member?
Yes, I believe I did. Maybe a couple days ago, I did.
Yes.
Mhm.
So Grayson has been all in, and so you're going to start getting some more information from us and reach outs and things like that. And being in Pennsylvania, we've got a great chapter there. John and I know some of their leaders very well in Pennsylvania. And, again, it's just more opportunities to get network, get connected. And that's really what we're all about here, and just helping all of you get your steps prepared so that, when you graduate, you already have that network. You've already built that all up, and that's what we're all about. So with that, we are at time, and I just want to thank everybody for being here. We will see you next week. We have another great NAIFA rock star, Kathleen Owings, will be joining us next week and getting to hear her story as actually West Point alumni and how she got into her career in financial services. So thank you all. We'll be sending out the recording for those of you on demand. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you, John. And John as well.
Thank you.